Good day, Athens, and welcome to the first official Another Side to That Story podcast. I'm your host, Mara Zuniga. This podcast will address local topics from the sides of the community that are not being voiced by the local media or heard by the local government. A while back at a mayor commissioner session meeting, it didn't seem like they were paying attention. And it brought me back to the 1980s when the Sandinistas were in power. They had taken power back in 1979 from a dictator. And everybody was happy because they felt changes were going to come. And there was a new feeling in the air that the new leaders were going to be representing the oppressed. And people believed in this group of people. One of them was Dora Maria Teles. She was 21 years old. By 21, she had already killed quite a few people just to overthrow the government. The problem was with the Sandinistas that as time went on and power just grew, people started not watching what the government was doing. And one day they realized they're not working for us. They're actually just working for themselves. It came to my mind how a small group of people, when overlooked by the people, when it becomes apparent that they're not listening to the community and they know best, then it becomes a problem. I named Dora Maria Teles because she was from the same party. She voiced concerns against her own party. Because of that, she was put in jail. This podcast will address local topics from the side of the community that is not being voiced by the local media or heard by the local government. I want to discuss the disenfranchisement of District 2. So today, I have a guest who will discuss the disenfranchisement of District 2, Dr. Allen. Welcome, Dr. Allen, to the podcast. I would like for you to tell us a little bit about yourself, your grandmother, and your whole family in the community and what you're doing, and then we can dive into the problem in District 2.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you for the invite and allowing me the opportunity to tell the story of District 2. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am born and raised in Athens, Georgia, a lifelong resident. I went to public school system, Clark County School District, Barnett Shows Elementary, Hillsman Middle, and a proud graduate of Cedar Shoals High School. Growing up, I had the opportunity to see a lot of different things in the area. My grandmother is Evelyn C. Neely. Was Evelyn C. Neely, but she will always be my grandmother. And she was a lifelong advocate for the rights of people here in Athens. And just by being with her, being around her, just seeing her, her strength, her quest to just make sure that people had the opportunity to have a voice. Those that didn't have an opportunity to get to meetings, to sit on boards, she made sure that their voice and concerns were heard. And not only that heard, but she made sure that there was action behind it.
So we know a couple of things. We know that Mariah Parker resigned.
Mm-hmm.
We know there's a timeline when she resigned. We know there were texts that went back and forth about her resignation. There's possible collusion because of it. Bottom line is that District 2 will go unrepresented for 7 months, more or less.
There are actually 9,109 people in District 2 currently that have no representation. Our commissioner walked away from her seat, typically I think it was in August, it could be a little earlier. So those residents have no representation. They will get a new commissioner because of the district remapping in January. And so out of that 9,109, 25% of them will go over to the new District 2. And that is roughly 2,300 people that will continue with no representation. The only thing we're asking is that we have representation. It was evident that District 2 has no voice. The mayor has said that he would be the representative that we could contact him and he would take care of constituent services. That has not happened. We've had several, I've been aware of several community members or constituents that have contacted the mayor's office and gotten no response. At the last commission meeting, there was a topic on the agenda about the purchase of 91 acres on Olympic Drive or Olympic Way. That is in District 2. And so with that purchase of that property, whenever it happens, the plan is to move the city buses from Pound Street to that area. We know that Peter Street, which is the main fairway to Olympic Drive, is very narrow. That is the heart of our neighborhood. And right now, it is already a lot of traffic going through Peter Street. Now you want to bring the buses on Peter Street, on a very narrow fairway. You want to bring that pollution to District 2. So the next thing we know, what will probably happen is that street will be widened. And then what happens when they widen the street, you have eminent domain. We have people, our neighbors, that will possibly lose their homes. Is that all right? No one brought that topic up. No one said anything. They just continued and did not address concerns or things that could possibly happen with the purchase and the movement of those buses to that particular industrial area.
Why do you think there's so much pressure on what seems to be a small community?
District 2 is a district rich in property and land. And as we know, Athens is one of the smallest counties by land design. So you have a lot of land available in District 2. And that land is not that expensive. This is something that was in the plan a long time ago. This is something that was in the plan that my grandmother and the other women in that era, they fought against. Miss Parker voted for that 0.75 acres to put those tiny homes there in a black neighborhood. And no one, I shouldn't say no one, there were a couple commissioners that did speak out against it. We haven't just started fighting July or August. This has been going on for years, especially for the inner East Athens neighbors. This is nothing new, but we're at this point now, we're tired of it. We have no representation.
And if it can happen to one district, it can happen to the rest of the districts, the way that I see it.
And it's happened to another district.
Now, I heard that Commissioner Parker resigned. There were some issues behind that. Mm-hmm. I know there was the story that was put out, and then there was the other side of the story.
Yeah, the inner East Athens neighbors sent an email to Attorney Judd Drake, and that was around 8/25/22. That letter was asking for censorship of Commissioner Mariah Parker for having inappropriate behavior or conversations and backdoor deals with the developer for the 515 Olympic Drive, which is different than the 91 acres that the Clark County is proposing to purchase. We asked for censorship for her behavior, for giving inappropriate information to developers, by giving inappropriate information to the constituents, and there's a laundry list of things that we asked, but most importantly, get her under control.
Right.
Okay. Right. And so that was on 8/25. 8/29, I think it was 8/29, she submitted a resignation via Twitter. She also sent an email to the mayor and commissioners that she was resigning her post effective August 31st, 2022. But later we find out that the letter was not fully done. She did not follow the process by submitting that resignation to the governor. It was withheld.
Mm. Mm-hmm. And also, I believe that she wasn't living in the district?
Absolutely, she was not living in the district.
Do you know if she voted on anything while she was not living in District 2?
I don't know if she voted on anything. I know that she missed quite a few commission meetings during the month of August, but that is something that needs to be looked into, because if she voted on major projects or anything, that needs to be, those votes need to be looked at.
Now, I know that they're trying to blame this whole situation of a problem, why it couldn't be done in November, why it should be done in March, because of redistricting. Bottom line, there was time to have done the November 8 election.
Yeah, that was time. That was plenty of time. The Mayor and Commission and the BOE were working together to make sure that they ran out the time clock. Thank goodness for a citizen that reviewed the ballot and saw that the homestead exemption was left off the ballot, which gave us opportunity to go ahead and file lawsuit because they had to redo the ballots anyway. So that was one of the reasons that they gave that they were choosing March, because it wasn't enough time. The ballots had to go out to the overseas servicemen at a certain particular time. So now you got to resend those ballots out. So why not go ahead and put the ballot in for the special election into the same envelope?
But here's the other thing. So the redistricting kind of put Melissa Link out. So Melissa was real upset about this, Commissioner Link. She was real upset but now she saw an opportunity. And I think a couple of people saw the opportunity. So what is your opinion on that?
So my opinion.
And your facts.
And the facts, yeah. Let's just stick to the facts. Melissa Link posted to her Facebook page the same day that Mariah Parker submitted her resignation, or put it out in the Twitter world, and submitted an email to the Mayor and Commission that she was resigning. Melissa Link posted that she was going to run for District 2. Not only did Melissa post that, it was also posted to ACC.gov's website that Mariah Parker had resigned and that the special election would be November 8th, 2022. There was also an email that had gone out from the ACC Public Information Office that there would be a special election on November 8th. And so later that day on Melissa Link's Facebook page, she had posted that she would not be able to run because of the redistricting of the lines, and it had to be someone that lived in the current District 2. Then, subsequently, just a little later, the information was removed off of ACC.gov's website, and everyone is moving towards March. Melissa also posted on her Facebook page during the same post asking for Mariah Parker to delay her letter to the governor, and so that she could be able to run. Well, there were open records requests that were received. Someone in our community got open records requests, and it showed where Melissa Link and Jesse Hill were discussing that, trying to find a way to circumvent the situation that was going to happen, which was that we would have the election November 8th and that the current District 2 line stood. And so they were trying to find people to run. Melissa was trying to get it delayed so that she could run in March. And then from that point on, it started moving like molasses. They were really moving to slow the process down. The mayor stated that he would submit a resolution in a couple of weeks. And so when the resolution came out, it wasn't a couple of weeks. It stated that the election would be March 2023. There was no reason why it should have been March 2023. And still, people are forgetting the most important fact is Mariah resigned as the commissioner of the current District 2. Her tenure would have been ending in 2024. It means that the people coming in the new District 2 still would not have had a vote. They would have still had the same Commissioner Parker had she not resigned. And so the people in District 2, the old District 2, they deserve to vote again for a commissioner because their commissioner resigned, period. People are forgetting that. They want to talk about the new District 2 and forget the old District 2. There are a lot of things going on in the community. I know you mentioned about Lexington Heights. That is in District 2 as well. It is so much happening. We need representation. We need a voice. And I know that some people are still confused because I think one of the Board of Elections representatives said that, oh, well, I am for one voice, one vote, and they're getting two votes. That is not the American way. The commissioner resigned. They are due another vote.
The bottom line is people are getting disenfranchised. I know there's a petition out there. Can you talk a little bit about the petition, how people can sign up for the petition? Right. Where can they find it?
Yes, it's asking to contact the governor and ask that we get a representative, that the people of District 2 have representation. That petition can be found on our Facebook page. It is under Inner East Athens Neighbors. That is our Facebook page. And there is a telephone number in there for the citizens to call the governor and let their voices be heard. Let them know that they need representation. I have met so many people that live in District 2 and they did not even know that this was going on.
So let's support District 2 in their fight for representation, which is a basic right. Let me ask you another question. There were rumors, which then became a fact, that the mayor and certain commissioners were having a meal with Rocky Raffle the day that the Board of Elections had voted for a March 2023 election. Did you hear about that?
I sure did. Right after the Board of Elections meeting that they voted on 9/20 that there would be a special election in March 2023, I think March 21st, 2023. And after the mayor and commission had their meeting, they were spotted at the Globe. Now, my understanding, they were having drinks and celebrating. You know, were you celebrating that your agenda was pushed and that you disenfranchised 9,109 people of District 2? What was it about? They have not denied that they were there celebrating. They have not denied. They really haven't even said anything, but they were seen there. And that's a problem.
Some people have said to me, there's nothing wrong with having dinner together. And I say, absolutely, there's nothing wrong. But when you're sitting on a very controversial topic of these issues that have come up with the texts and collusion, I don't think that would be the right thing to do, is to be seen celebrating.
There was the chair of the Board of Elections who had to break the tie for that vote. You have the mayor, you had other commissioners, Jesse, Tim Denson, Carol Myers. You had that whole group who tend to vote together there that we've now seen. There were open records requests when they were having text messages to ensure that that vote happened in March, or that that election happened in March. You know, it breeds collusion. It breeds collusion. And so I urge the public to contact their commissioners. Ask them about what were they discussing at the Globe. Ask them about that.
I think when you look at the matters that are at hand, right, when people are suffering, you know, there's such grief over not having that representation. There's grief over the people that are getting evicted, the properties that are getting bought, the housing crisis that they're saying, you know, exists, the homeless. I mean, there seems so many sad things that are happening, you know, and yet there's a celebration.
Our community is in crisis. District 2 is on life support right now. When we have our people in our community that are crying, they go up to the commission and ask for assistance, for help, things that the mayor has promised. He's good at, you know, sitting down and talking with different groups and promising things that never happen. You know, we've been meeting with the mayor for over 2 years, over 3 years. This is not anything new. When they voted to prioritize the T-SPLOST projects, or they voted on that list, you know, the thing is, was anyone representing District 2 to make sure that we got the bare necessities? We're talking about street lights, sidewalks, you know, just simple basics. Bus seats, bus covers for people waiting on the bus. No, it wasn't discussed. So we are going to continue to fight, to rally, to protest, to do a petition, whatever it is, to get us someone in that seat. And we need it sooner than later. Because as I said in court, there are a lot of things that can happen in a district in 7 months. We can all be erased in 7 months.
You brought a good point up. You said the firefly trails, and then there's the bicycles and the art. And I want to touch a subject because a lot of people think that, even I was approached by somebody and said, why are you against trails? Why are you against bicycle lanes? That's a good thing for the community. I said, I'm not against them. I said, I love them. But you know what? I love them better when everybody can enjoy them. How can you enjoy getting on a bicycle trail, right, from point A to point B, when there's somebody that doesn't have sidewalks, doesn't have a bus route, doesn't have good clean water, doesn't have street? How can you do that? When the Governments United, Athens Clarke County, I saw one of the first original mayor, and she was talking about we need to address affordable housing. That blew me away. I couldn't believe that I was listening to this and we're still discussing affordable housing.
And have we gotten affordable housing? We've asked the question, our group, over the past 5 years, 6 years, how many rooftops have been built in Athens Clarke County? We still haven't gotten that answer. And out of those rooftops that have been built, how many of those are affordable? Crickets, okay? We have more bike trails, bike paths, anything related to bikes, period, than we have affordable housing in our area. They have done more in that sector in the past 6 years than they have done for the people, period. The last thing that East Athens got was back in the 90s was the East Athens Dance Center, which it was a great addition to our community, but there's so much more that we've been waiting for and needing. Now, mind you, Athens Clarke County gets a lot of money on the backs of the poverty numbers here. We are an entitlement city, so we get a lot of designation here. It is sad that that downtown area looks like it looks, and you can walk less than a half a mile and see what is going on. The crime, all of that. Goodness, it was a murder in my mother's front yard just 2 Saturdays ago. I will say this. Now, I'll give credit where credit is due. The police department were absolutely amazing. They were there in 2 to 3 minutes. They got in. They secured the scene. They went door to door. I mean, they were amazing. I'm appreciative of that. But that's just for that particular situation. We have so much stuff going on in our district. We need help. We need a voice. We've had a commissioner. I know someone said, yeah, you've had a commissioner, but you really didn't have representation. You're right. We didn't. But that still doesn't mean that we're not due a representative.
Right.
And that is how our group has really gotten together and just basically put our voices collectively together. But I am so grateful that now people are actually hearing and they are lending their hands to help us. Because I said, we're on life support, and it will be a tragic to see the death of District 2 after this.
Very tragic. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you, Dr. Allen, for being on.
Thank you for the platform, and just continue to pray for us that we find favor and get representation.
So my second guest is Joan Ronan, who will be discussing with me the homestead tax exemption on November 8th. So Joan, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family, your beautiful family, and what you do in the community.
I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a homemaker. Family is very important to me. And anything I do outside of that is in essence for my family. I see families being attacked. I see families being challenged. Family's important. It's the smallest form of government is the family. When the community and families are not receiving 100% of the truth, they cannot make wise decisions, and they cannot do what is most effective and most powerful for their own family.
You're absolutely right about that, Joan. And I have to say that facts are important. It's true. We read stuff in the newspapers, in the magazines, and sometimes you don't see the full picture. I have an issue with journalism, the way it's presented here in Athens. You know, we have a college town, we have a lot of professional people, and yet we cannot get all the facts out there.
Mm.
I would say that you have been very vocal. I've seen you a lot at the mayor and commissioner meetings. You've presented it. I'm one of those people that have seen those truths, which at first challenged it. You're willing to discuss issues with even people who are difficult to talk to. With that being said, I want to discuss the homestead tax because that is something that, for example, there's a lot of misinformation. And I really do want the public and the listeners to know what are the facts. So what are the facts, Jill? I know that we can start with Mayor Gert's email. There was an email that went out, I believe it was March, basically requesting the state senators, state reps to not pass it. Can you elaborate on that?
The Homestead Exemption Act. This is an opportunity for people who own property, who have homes in Clark County, to be able to have an increase in their pocketbooks. It's not a lot, but today every cent counts. This Homestead Exemption Act is an act that Governor Kemp signed, HB 797. That it says you can have a referendum, you can put on a ballot for the people to choose, do you want more money in your pocket? There's a yes or no vote coming down on our ballots on November the 8th, October 17th, if you vote early throughout. People are not aware of that. You don't see that in the Athens Banner Herald. You don't see that in the flagpole. You don't see that in the red and black. This homestead exemption is going to put money in the pockets of people who are suffering, people whose property tax has gone up, and they've seen it. Their assessment goes up, so their property tax goes up, and those assessments are inflated in order to be able to receive more property tax, which goes into the coffers of the city. Our mayor sent a letter to the legislature that said to the General Assembly members, thank you for your service to our state. I'm writing today to ask that you oppose SB 640 when it reaches the chamber, as well as the similar components HB 797, though separate language in 797 focused on low-income residents is supported. This legislation would seek voter approval for an increase in Clark County's general homestead exemption from $10,000 to $25,000. Clark already features the highest homestead exemption in Northeast Georgia, and the change would reduce existing revenues by $3.2 million per year as a cooperative element of our planned fiscal year 23 budget. Raises for public safety officers alone this year will cost $2.3 million. He goes on to say that he opposes the homestead exemption vote being put on the ballot.
Which would give relief.
Would give relief to the people, but also give them an opportunity to say, yes, I would like to have a raised homestead exemption. So the mayor of Clark County basically petitioned the legislators, do not pass this and give the taxpayers, the homeowners of Clark County, an opportunity to vote to raise their homestead exemption. I find that astounding.
It is astounding. And let me ask you, how is it that it was not on the sample ballot? Now, we know there was a community member, an older gentleman on fixed income that is looking forward to voting yes for this, for the relief. Simultaneously, like Dr. Allen said before, this is when it hit them. If you can put that on the ballot, why can't we address the disenfranchisement of District 2?
The timeline is very, very important, because if in March or April, I think it may have been April, that the governor's this letter was sent to the legislature, in April of 2022, then we're already in October of 2022. The mayor himself knew that this was a very important legislative situation. So he knew that this passed, that it was supposed to be on the ballot, but nothing was said. Again, silence. There's silence because that was not something that they wanted to for the people to vote on. If a community member had not come forward and said, I just looked at my sample ballot, this is in October, and the homestead exemption that I'm so looking forward to that was passed for it to be on the ballot, it's not there. He began to do some research and told several people, are you aware that this is not on the ballot? Others began to do their research, and then again, had one person not alerted others to something that was so important, November 8th would have passed, we would have had a ballot, and if you read the law, if it is not put on the ballot, it's done. It's done.
Disappears.
It disappears. Well, this homestead exemption opportunity is very, very important to the public. But again, it will not be promoted in the Athens Banner Herald, in the flagpole, because you will see that there's a general consensus among a certain number of people that this is going to take money out of our county budget. When the county budget is bloated on so many levels because of the outside money that is coming in that for whatever reason is being held. SPLOST, the Special Purpose Local Options Sales Tax, SPLOST, people get to vote on it. And each year they vote another penny sales tax, a penny on every dollar, another sales tax. Then there's the transportation special local option sales tax. Well, that's another penny. Then there's the education special local option sales tax. All of that is taking money out of the pocketbooks of the people who are saying, we can't take anymore. And then to have the opportunity to get a little bit back, and for someone in power to say, don't get this on the ballot, we do not want this on the ballot, please legislature do not pass this, and then to ignore it as it comes forward, you would think that in honesty, in truthfulness, in transparency, that a government official would say, well, it didn't work out our way, but we want to make sure that we obey the law, that we use the laws that are put before us. But no, it didn't even get acknowledged. They didn't acknowledge that it passed. They didn't acknowledge that it was supposed to be on the ballot. There's a process. When the legislature votes on this, the process goes to a legislative clerk that keeps a record of all of these things. And then the law says that the Secretary of State's office will send whatever notification of that to the superintendent of elections, which is the Clark County Board of Elections. The 5-member board is the superintendent if you look at it in the OCGA code.
Okay.
And then it's also sent at the same time that it's sent to the Board of Elections. It is sent to the governing body within a county or municipality. That's your mayor and commission. I hear that they never received anything like that.
The government or the Board of Elections?
The Board of Elections, the government, which the government, which is the mayor and commission, and the superintendent, the Board of Elections as well, that they didn't receive a notice of it.
Now that wasn't really clear though. I mean, Rocky Raffle, I saw the Zoom meeting. Rocky Raffle said in Sausaby that they did not receive it, like Board of Elections did not receive it. But Blaine, the city manager, was not clear. He didn't really say we didn't receive it. He just said we don't really want to point fingers.
Well, this is one of the things that I find interesting. How will you ever know if you are not dealing with a transparent government and you watch on a regular basis where there's just a little bit of information that's left out in any given situation? Whatever information needs to be left out, whether it's in a journalism situation, just leave out that little bit of information so that people would not be able to say, wait a minute, that gives me pause.
Right.
Let me do a little bit more research.
When you look at the taxes, that's across. That's for homeowners, right?
Well, homeowners, and this is what I want to say. You may say, well, big deal, I'm not a homeowner. But you may be a homeowner tomorrow, or next year, or 5 years from now. This Homestead Exemption Act it carries out in perpetuity. So you've got people who next year are going to say, thank God I'm able to buy a home, this little place, I've looked forward to this for so long, and then they realize their property taxes are so high, it takes so much out of their resources.
If the government is worried about homelessness, if they're worried about affordable housing, if you own a home and your taxes go up, your overall payment goes up.
Yes.
So if you have a job or 2 or 3 jobs and you're on medication because of, some issues you may have, or your child needs other things, that's less money in your pocket. Well, we need to get the word out. Thank you very much, Joan, for coming on the show.
I appreciate you.
And we look forward to having you on again and discussing other issues.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that was a lot to process. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come back and hear another side to that story with Mara Zuniga.